Seeing that we do have a quorum, I'll call the Williamson County Budget Committee order, April 20th, 2021. If you will please mark your roll call with the Open Meetings app if you're present. Right. Amy, if you'll record that, I believe that shows everyone present. Thank you. All right, here we go. This meeting is being held, as you know, due to the pandemic, is being held pursuant to Executive Order number 78 from the Governor of the State of Tennessee. As such, all members of the committee must be able to hear me and each other. If you cannot hear the other committee members, please notify immediately. Without objection, the Budget Committee hereby determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. This meeting is available to the public on public access TV and is streaming live on YouTube. So, Commissioner, I see all commissioners of the Budget Committee are here present. Can everyone hear one another? If we'll see your screen, see Commissioner Sturgeon, Commissioner Morton, I saw the mayor. Commissioner Herbert, are you okay today? I don't hear you, Commissioner Herbert. But I did see you a minute ago.
I was nodding my head. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. We do not have any minutes today, but we have two transfers that you should have received. And so I'll go right into the transfers. The first one is from the Health Department, a transfer of $1,210 with a very good explanation. Do I have a motion for approval? A motion by Commissioner Morton. Do I have a second? Motion by Commissioner Sturgeon. This explanation looks very good to me, but does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, ready to vote for this transfer of $1,210 for the Health Department. Push your yes button if you're in favor, your no button if you're opposed. Commissioner Sturgeon, yours is not coming in.
Okay, I have a confession. I cannot find these transfers in my inbox, and I was stalling for time.
Okay, they came from Amy today instead of Jamie. Amy Bennett. You see me?
Okay, I think I did get the personnel list from Amy, I think. Was it on the?
Yes, there were four attachments.
Oh, I only saw the one.
Yeah, the capital, the personnel, and two transfers. If you'll see down there underneath it, it should see 4 attachments, and you can click on that and look at them.
Oh, yeah. Transfer. There we go.
First one, the health.
So 1,210?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you very much for being patient with me.
Okay. Technology. All right. Record the vote, please, Amy. This transfer passes 5-0. Next one up is from Judge Andre and Judge Taylor. This is a request for $1,500 for special judges. Do I have a motion for approval? Commissioner Morton, second by Commissioner Herbert. Are there any questions on this item? All right. If not, ready to vote. If you're in favor of this transfer of $1,500, press the yes button when it comes up. If you're opposed, push your no button. Record the vote, please. And that passes 5-0. All right. Today we've got the capital request we're going to start with, and Nina's on the line. And if my recollection is correct, Nina, we would cover the general fund, then the sanitation, and then the highway. Do we just need votes on those categories, or are we going to vote, have motions on each department? What you say before we start?
We can just do it by fund. So all the departments that fall within the county general fund.
Okay.
They are listed by department and the total of the request for each department.
And so we can review this, but for a motion, we'll just request a motion to approve the general fund of $24,749,11. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Before you, members of the Budget Committee, is a capital request from the general fund totaling $24,749,11. Commissioner Sturgeon, before we accept a motion, what's your question, please?
Okay, I'm not seeing this in my binder. So it's just the attachment to the email that came today?
We've got one in the binder, but Nina, are the numbers the same or did they change?
They've changed. We went through these with all of the departments. Some items were pulled out or moved forward to request in another budget year. So this is the latest final version.
Okay, what page on the attachment shows the figure, the number that you said, Paul? 24 million?
Just a second. Page 9.
Okay, I spent all my time on the binder today.
It's in the middle of page 9.
Okay, maybe I don't have, we're looking at capital budgets request dated 4/20/21, correct? Right?
Yes.
In the middle of page 9, I have 8,262,000 for Parks and Rec.
Just
total.
below that. You see the 24
Right.
just below that?
Oh, okay.
Got it?
Wasn't highlighted.
Okay. Are you good, Commissioner Sturgeon? You found the number.
I found the number, yes.
Okay, so now then I'll request a motion to approve the general fund capital budget request of $24,749,011. I have a motion for approval. Commissioner Morton, do I have a second? Commissioner Herbert, thank you. At this point, Budget Committee members, I'm going to ask Nina to go through these line items, and she may call on members of the various departments to explain that fully. And if we have questions at each line item, then please go ahead and push your question button and we'll ask as we go through. Does that work for everyone? Okay, thank you. Nina?
Okay. To start on page 1, request from Community Development for $31,500 for vehicles. Do you just want me to read the total for each department?
I think if you go down through there and if there's anything that department would like to explain to us, or if any members of the Budget Committee have a question, I think we'll just stop and go by each line item. And Nina, you can go ahead, but at this point, does anyone have any questions on the 31.5 requested from the Community Development? Commissioner Herbert.
Well, I've noticed a lot of people have requested vehicles. Do we not have any more of the sheriff's used vehicles that some of these could use instead of buying new vehicles? And if that's not possible, is there not a way we can get some kind of vehicles at a little cheaper rate?
We do go through all the vehicles that are surplus from other departments and check them for any, to make sure that they're running. And we've not had any requests put in for any surplus vehicles at this time. These vehicles that come up on this list are typically ones that are rotating out of service within the departments, and they are on state contract bids. So we do have government pricing on these vehicles.
Anything else, Commissioner Herbert?
Yeah, with government pricing, it's still over 30,000 a vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Note that this one is a 4-wheel drive something, Commissioner Herbert.
Yeah, but I've noticed almost every vehicle in here's priced at around 30,000. It just seems like a lot.
Let's see. Nina Graham, do you know, are these vehicles typically, to help us understand that, are these typically like SUVs, 4-wheel drive, or pickups? That might help us.
Some of them are pickup trucks and some are SUVs, but I don't have that specified here.
Okay. I haven't bought a car in 2 or 3 years, so I don't know what the market is, so I can't.
They're about double or at least double these prices. I can tell you that if you go buy a new one.
Okay. Any follow-up, Commissioner Herbert?
No, I don't guess so. I know they're high, and I know there's a problem getting a lot of vehicles now because of some computer chip that they can't find.
We may come back to this when we go through the other one, so,
Okay, that's all I have to say for now.
thank you. All right, we'll go to Nina, continue on with information technology, please.
They have a request of 200,000.
And this is for the server. Looks like we're replacing some servers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. See no questions. Move on to property management. I will say to the budget committee, if you see one of these and we go beyond you, we can circle back until we've voted on this full 24 million. Thank you. Nina, go ahead to property management, please.
This department has various requests for equipment and construction. Their total request is 1,305,000.
Okay, Commissioner Sturgeon, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the line that says access expert access control systems. And I'm just wondering, what is this 360-degree access control for? This is the administrative complex, correct? That's
Okay.
That's right.
Commissioners, this is Kevin Benson. I'm available to answer that question.
Go ahead,
Thanks,
Kevin.
Yes, this is access control that we currently have none of for the back of the AOC. All of the doors, except for the front doors, are just key controlled right now. And to properly secure the building for active shooters, for COVID, we need to make sure that we're using CAC cards to access the facility for those that are allowed in specific areas and specific doors, and we can do that with that system. Pending your questions, ma'am.
So you're saying, I'm thinking this is going to give you the ability to lock down the administrative complex in the case of an emergency of some sort. Is that what I'm hearing? Can you hear me?
Kevin, did you hear that? Have we,
Maybe we lost him.
I think we've lost Kevin for the moment.
Hmm.
Let's circle back when Kevin gets back on.
Okay, because I also wanted to ask about moving the IT fiber hub. I mean, I assume there's a good reason. I just was wondering why we're doing that.
I wonder, is that under Kevin or would that be under David and IT? Nina, which one would have information on that one?
It is within Kevin's budget.
Okay.
But IT may have some insight on that.
Okay. Is there anyone from IT that can help with Commissioner Sturge has a question on the IT under Kevin's budget?
This is Kevin. I'm back. I dropped off, and
Okay.
I apologize for that. I'm out of town. So the IT server is currently located in the building that has been identified to be demolished and leveled, and the new juvenile center to go up. And in order to maintain the IT network there with the fiber, we'll need to relocate that. And we're looking at relocating it in the existing, another existing warehouse we have right next door.
Gotcha. That makes sense. What about the 360-degree access? Is that so you can shut down the administrative complex? Like you could lock all the doors all at once? Is that what that's for?
Yes, ma'am. Just like the Pentagon. I mean, basically any of the larger buildings that we've got nowadays, it'll limit access throughout the building to those that need access to areas, and then we can shut it down and control the overall access just with a touch of some computer buttons.
I'm just curious, is there other counties in Tennessee that have this capability?
Yes, ma'am. I know for a fact that down in Nashville, they've got it in Murfreesboro, their new facility they've got over there. When we looked at that a couple of years ago, they had all that access control as well in their courthouse and the whole county center that they've got built there.
And they're real happy with it?
I haven't done any follow-up. There's all different systems and different vendors. This particular vendor that I'm working with is a shoot-off vendor with Schneider Controls that we just did our big ESCO program with, completed with, and we'll finish up with Schneider on this, and I've been working with them to get the right pricing for this.
Okay, well, thank you, Kevin.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Kevin. I will say, Commissioner Sturgeon, when I was in Nina's position in Cumberland County, we had this 25 years ago, and we could turn the air conditioning up or down or lock doors all over the county. And so it's actually a very good thing to have, and it's pretty commonplace these days. All right, any other questions on property management? All right, Nina, let's look at archives, please.
Archives has a request for a compact cargo van for a total of $20,000. This also has operating costs that I would need to roll into their operating budget of $600.
Okay, any questions on the archives request? All right, moving up to the property assessor. And Brad may be, if you want him to address that one.
Yes, they can explain this more in depth if you need that. But it is a new software system. And it also has operational costs that I would need to roll into their operating budget as well for $50,000.
$50,000 annually, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I think I did see Brad or somebody from his office on the line if we need to ask a question. Commissioner Herbert.
Does this software also help maybe save any type of positions, employee positions? Because it's awful expensive.
Let me look and see if they're still there. Is there someone from the assessor's office still on the call that can answer Commissioner Herbert's question? Well, I guess they're not there. Let's hold that question right there, Commissioner Herbert. We've got a question from Commissioner Sturgeon.
No, actually, Judy, that was the same question I had, so thank you for asking it.
Okay. Can somebody in the office ask someone from the assessor to get on the call, please? We'll come back to this and answer that question.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Coleman will be with you in just a moment.
Okay, thank you. We'll just hold on a second then for him to get online. Because I don't want to interrupt the sheriff's items. Brad Coleman, are you on the call now? Okay. Give him another minute or so if he's having to log on.
If we didn't have all these computers and computer programs, we'd save a lot of money on the budget, wouldn't we?
We just all be in one big happy clan and ask everybody. Well, while we're waiting on Brad, a serious note, we may have snow in the morning, so get your plants in that may be outside and make sure your heat's working and have a coat because it's going to get cold tonight, unseasonably. I thought I heard a beep. Is that Mr. Coleman? Are you on the line now?
That's me, Mr. Webb. Yes, sir. Sorry to be late here.
That's fine. Okay. Commissioner Herbert has a question, and I believe it's the same question Commissioner Sturgeon has. We'll go to Commissioner Herbert and let her ask the question directly to you. Mr. Coleman, go ahead, Commissioner Herbert.
Mr. Coleman, you've asked for $500,000 for software upgrade. And my question is, and Commissioner Sturgeon's is, will this help cut out any additional employees you may need? I mean, is there any way, are we saving any kind of money whatsoever? It's a program.
No, ma'am, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, we want to stay up to date on technology, and as technology has progressed, that has helped us to maintain a minimal staff and not grown necessarily to the rate the county has. You may remember this software on Capital. It's been on there for several years. We are on the oldest version of our CAMA system. We did a minor upgrade last year, and basically we're waiting on our software company to be able to put the man hours in to bring us up to the newest version. Ideally, we were trying to do this actually before the reappraisal, but they just simply could not make that happen. So we did a soft upgrade, if you will, and just moved that $500,000 forward. And we may end up doing the same thing next year as well. We're just kind of in line waiting to try to get upgraded as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon, do you have any follow-up, or did that answer your question?
Well, maybe I missed it, but you guys just did your appraisal without it, right?
Well, yes, we have a CAMA system that we're currently operating on. We went with Manatron in 2008, and we've had 2 upgrades within ProVal since then. The current version that we are on is the oldest version that they are still supporting. And so as soon as either they're available to do our upgrade to what'll be called Augmentum, or we move to a different software package altogether, that's what that $500,000 is for. So yes, we have a CAMA system. We're working within it. It is the oldest supported system that they have, and at their availability, we would look at upgrading within that system.
So are you saying $500,000 is to get a whole new package, or is $500,000 just to update the existing system that you have?
It would actually be a full conversion to their newest software that they're offering. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anywhere in between?
It's a full blast conversion.
It is a full blast conversion.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any chance we could save some money by not maybe going all the way to the Cadillac?
If you want to make our IT department quite uncomfortable, I would say yes. It's a sunsetting software. Like I said, they gave us a minor upgrade 18 months ago that they are still supporting, but it's just a matter of time before that disappears as well.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Brad.
Okay. Any other questions on the assessor's request? All right, ready to move on to the sheriff. Nina? I know we have representatives and the sheriff is on the line if we have to call them. So go ahead, Nina.
The sheriff's department request is a total of $2,536,883. It is for replacement patrol vehicles and software end of life replacement for some of their computers, and also a server upgrade and backup for replication.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Nina or anyone from the sheriff's office? All right, continuing on that one, the next one is the detention and litter, and the looks like more sheriffs and jail. Go ahead, Nina.
Yes, this is a total of $812,500 for body scanners, jail camera system, and body cameras for detention deputies.
All right, does anyone have any questions on this $812,500? Commissioner Sturgeon.
Was that always in the litter, under the litter category, or did that get moved from a different spot? Was that always under litter, the body scanners?
Yeah, I think under the heading, it's got detention and litter, so this may be considered under detention.
Litter is a completely
It-
separate budget.
Sorry, Dusty, I mean, Sheriff.
Oh, that's fine. I don't know. That's under the jail. It's not under litter.
Oh, okay, it just says detention and litter then. Maybe that's an error. Thank you.
Commissioner Herbert.
Commissioner Sturgeon and I are going to wear people out asking questions, but I've got questions. What body cameras? This is for the detention deputies. Does all the deputies on the road have body cameras?
All the deputies on the road, warrants, SRO, are in the, well, let me back up. The SROs are in the process of getting body cameras done. And I want to get body cameras in the jail because with the body camera, it also does audio. And when I have an inmate that says, well, the deputy called me a racist name, I've got proof that either it happened or it didn't happen.
Okay, and the body scanners that are like 400,000?
Yeah, those, that's something that we have contemplated. When we have people come in and do weekend time, and sometimes when people get arrested for whatever, they have a way of secreting drugs, for lack of better words, in body cavities. Now we have, unless we can't do a body cavity search without probable cause and getting a warrant. It has to be done by a doctor. And we do have ways that may work, but sometimes some of this stuff gets in. And we've had several people OD. They get this dope in here and they get it out of their crevices or whatever you want to call it. And then they'll OD on it, and then they will give some to other inmates causing OD. So these body scanners would be, so us to be able to, we'd have one set up for males and one set up for females, and they'd be monitored by whatever sex they were. And it will show these packets or whatever you want to call them upside somebody's body cavity or such. And then two, if and when we get the new facility, we can move these over there.
So will this cut out some of the work that the deputies have to do as far as bodies, searches, and things like that?
Well, no, it won't cut anything out. We'll still have to do what we got to do. But like I say, when they've got it up their rectum or up the body cavity, we can't see it and can't get it.
But I didn't know I know y'all have to do body searches when they come. They do this instead of having to do.
It depends on what the crime is. I mean, you can't do a body cavity search if it's like a misdemeanor. You get somebody coming in that you caught doing 100 miles an hour out here on 840 and they didn't have any identification and you brought them in for that. You couldn't do a body cavity search for that. Now, if you were looking in their car prior doing inventory, and you found some dope, yeah, you could do that. But then there again, even though if they've got it, not just be quite frank, they've got it in the crack of their butt, you're going to find it. But if they've got it up in their anus or any other body cavity, you're not going to find it unless you use this.
Okay, I think it is needed. It can prevent deaths, like you said. I just wasn't sure if it would actually save some of your deputies' time if they all had to go through this body scanner instead of having to get whatever they do, the deputies do before they go in.
It really won't save any time. Like I say, before you put them in a car, you're going to pat search them and everything like that. And
Okay.
Like down to the jail. And then that also goes for anybody that's brought in, either being from another agency. We're able to scan them and make sure they're not packing anything.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
All right. Any other questions on this one? 812,500. Seeing none. All right, Nina, let's move on to juvenile services, please. 188,000.
Yes, sir. That is a request for 2 vehicles, a storage for videotape backups, and that's for juvenile services and juvenile court, and a new software program, that Case Quest.
All right. Anyone have any questions on these items? Seeing none, looks like we're moving on to public safety, and that one covers quite a few pages. Let's see if I can find the bottom. $10,808,083. You want to start with that, Nina? And we may interrupt you as we go along if someone has questions.
Um,
Would you be more comfortable if we looked at Alan or someone talking about the ambulances?
yes, and Bill is online. I mean, I'm not sure if you want every item explained. There are quite a few on the list, so I didn't know if you had specific questions.
Okay, I will, before I go to Commissioner Sturgeon, I will see if Alan or Bill could just give us a quick summary, because we've heard some of these in the committee meetings. And then we can come back to you, Commissioner Sturgeon, and answer the questions. So I think I saw Alan or someone from the hospital online to talk about the ambulances. Are you, just a quick summary?
And Mr. Chairman, this is Bill Jorgensen. I can probably give a quick overview.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Go ahead, cover it all for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The capital requests are basically broke out into 4 areas: construction, vehicles, information technology, and then some items in emergency communications and 911. And Director Horton, Director Borden, and Director Lovett are available to answer specific questions about any of these certain areas. You asked specifically about EMS. In your proposed request, we have 4 replacement EMS units, 2 EMS supervisor replacement vehicles, and all 6 of those vehicles, they are on the road 24/7, 365. And then also 2 administrative vehicles for EMS. We've
Thank you.
got some. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, you go right ahead, because when you finish, we're going to come back to Commissioner Sturgeon. Any other questions? Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, if we pull back to construction projects, there's one that stands out here, and that is the emergency services station in Burwood. And I would like to call on Director Horton and Director Borden to discuss that, because it plays a major role in our continuity of operations and continuity of government planning.
All right,
Director Horton, if you want to start.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. So the emergency services station in Brentwood, we purchased land, or I'm sorry, in Burwood. We purchased land in 2019 with the intentions of closing the gap in the fire coverage in the Burwood community, using Station 24, which is located on Goose Creek, as a template by which to build future stations. Station 24 currently houses an EMS unit, fire services, and a sheriff's office, a room for the sheriff's office to use. This concept would be the same for this Burwood station, except it would have the addition of a hardened 911 emergency communications backup center. As we continue to work with our volunteer fire service that provides fire service to that area, we understand that adding an additional fire station would help to lower the insurance service rating for that particular area, which would also result in savings for any property owners located within 5 miles of that station. Using data from 2018, this facility would cover about 2,142 structures in that area. And of course, it's a growing community. So as additional houses are built within that 5 miles, it would continue to offer yearly savings for them year after year. I will let Director Borden talk about the Emergency Communications Backup Center.
All right.
Thank you. Just as Bill said, it's about continuity of operations and continuity of government, and that's what we're focusing on. Right now, we do have redundancy, as in we do have a backup center to go to, but that backup center is Brentwood Communications Center. As you're aware, we have outgrown that. We now have 54 on staff here, and for us to be able to take our communications to a different center like that, we would lose the redundancy and all of the all of the technology that we need to succeed. Although this building is great, we have looked at lots of redundancy within the system. We have generators, we have backup systems all here within this building. But component failure is inevitable. We have seen that in our outages recently, through phone outages on Christmas, where 47 PSAPs across the country, or across Tennessee, excuse me, lost 911 services. This center would provide a backup if our center here became uninhabitable because of a bomb threat, a fire or smoke, gas leak, hazardous material, an infrastructure failure. Any issue which hinders the ability to receive, process, dispatch, and monitor emergency calls, it has to be handled quickly with minimal disruption. And this would allow us to do that. We would be able to train at this facility so as to have better training where we had more hands-on training outside of our center. We would, as we have used this center, as the mayor said, we would wear the doors off of that center also. And again, it is going to be used for different purposes, such as to serve the community in fire and EMS. I am here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon, you had some questions?
Well, yeah, I was mostly looking for an overview of the emergency stations, what the construction over the next few years, what the plan is. So this year it's Burwood, and there's also something with Arrington and Grassland. And then I think there's just every year there's new EMS stations coming online. Am I correct?
Bill?
Commissioner, that is correct. There's probably at least 2 construction projects every year in our capital improvement plan for the next, and we do a 10-year plan. We submit a 5-year, but we're looking 10 years out, and there's at a minimum of 2 construction projects every year that we would be proposing.
This is because of the growth of our county? Is this why we're doing this?
Mostly because of growth, meeting expectations, and especially with the, definitely growth with EMS, growth with fire, but also with a goal of getting the majority of the residents in Williamson County within 5 miles of a station.
Right.
Some will be different sizes depending on the community that they'll be placed in.
Gotcha. Last question. What's the renovation happening to Sneed Road?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Commissioner, and that's an additional bay, and I would call on Director Horton. He was involved in and has the details on the ISO rating and why we're asking for a bay for a tanker out in Grassland.
Thank you, Director Jorgensen. So during a recent ISO grading visit, we learned that there was a gap in the Grassland area that actually affects the entire response district for the Williamson County Rescue Squad. They have multiple stations, mainly covering the west side of the county. And in order to lower insurance ratings, there are a number of factors that go into that, but 2 of the primary factors have to do with water supply. And you can achieve water supply by one of 2 ways: having hydrants located within proximity to the residents, or you can do what's called a water shuttle, and that's using trucks or tankers, as we call them, to move water from hydrants to the area where the fire is happening. And when we had the Williamson County Rescue Squad evaluated, we were attempting to get what's called water haul credit, meaning we had enough tankers operating in the system to shuttle a certain amount of water for a duration that's required, which is 20 minutes duration. Because we didn't have a tanker in the Grassland area, we were not able to achieve the necessary flow of water. And so therefore, the entire district suffered by not getting a lower ISO rating. So we looked at opportunities of where we could add a station to house an additional tanker, and we felt like that the property where the station currently is located is the best option moving forward. There is no space within the current station because it is completely full with EMS and fire apparatus now, but directly behind it is one of the solid waste convenience centers. And just behind the gate, there is a plot of land there that solid waste has no intentions of developing, that they said we could use in order to erect basically a single bay that would allow us to put one of these fire tankers in. And then we would, once that's in place, we would call ISO back out to reevaluate the Williamson County Rescue Squad. And we expect that we would see lower insurance ratings for all of the homes that are within the Rescue Squad's district as a result of that, which saves hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for the respective homeowners. So I hope that answers your question about the Grassland Station specifically. I would like to point out something just for the benefit of the committee, that normally when you see a building project come from our office, you see the entire amount. You will notice that the Burwood Station is only for half or 50% of the construction cost. And what we're trying to do is we realize that it takes a little over a year in which to build a station. And we typically aren't able to get started on that construction until well after certain funds become available. So usually by the middle of the year before we can really get going on that project. And so rather than tying up the full amount in a budget year, we've opted to spread that out over a 2-year period, which allows us to capitalize on the funding that we can actually use within the budget year, and then budget the other 50% in the next budget year when it would actually be spent. So I didn't want you to be surprised if this moves through final commission approval when we ask for the remaining 50% of that project next year. I hope that helps explain some of these things.
Thank you, Director Horton. You explained the question I haven't even asked yet, so thank you very much. All right, Commissioner Herbert, you have a question.
Yeah, on page 5, the same page at the very bottom, it's got fire system vehicles, $750,000. What's that?
So anytime we add a new station like station in Burwood, it has to have apparatus to go in it. So this would be an additional engine and an additional tanker to serve that station, as well as the associated equipment to outfit it.
Okay, so this is for the new station.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, Director Horton, the apparatus is the $750,000 for one, $475,000 for the other, and then the equipment such as chains, the things that you need to put on those units to put them into service is the $43,489. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We do have different monies broken out for the tanker, for the engine, and then for the related equipment for those for those two, as well as the tanker for Grassland and its related equipment. All should be broken out into individual line items.
And they are. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, the three of you, for explaining that to us. Do we have any more questions here on public safety? There's a lot there. If not, okay, let's see. We will move on to the next one is animal control, a vehicle, $42,000. Nina, anything to add there?
No, sir, this is just a request for a vehicle.
Okay, any questions from the committee members? All right. Next one up is looks at the library, just some carpeting and some other items to upgrade, $43,045. Anything there, Nina, that we need to point out?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions? All right, then we move on to Parks and Rec. Looks like they've got $8,262,000 even. Nina, is there anything there that looks like it's mostly property and work on facilities?
It is. The first request just has various facility renovations and equipment. That is requests that are paid for out of their privilege tax money. And then the remaining projects are the Bethesda Rec Center Phase 2, property at Triune, master plan to review the full park system, and 2 mowers. Those are specialty mowers for the soccer fields, and that's why those are so expensive.
All right,
But I
thank
think
you.
we'll
Commissioner
move
Herbert.
on if you have questions.
Yes, Commissioner Herbert has a question. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I didn't know if Gordon's on the call. On the Bethesda Rec Center, I noticed 4,100,000. Is that just the sports section of the complex? That doesn't include the actual building? Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Herbert, that is phase two, as Nina mentioned. Phase one includes the soccer fields and a lot of the infrastructure that'll serve the entire site over the 3 phases, which includes sewer. Phase two, which you're looking at today, is for the tennis courts and pickleball courts, and then the further site development needed for phase three, which would actually include the recreation complex and library.
Do you know how much the rest of the complex is going to cost? I assume that'll be in next year's budget.
Yes, ma'am. So the reason we split this up into 3 phases is the total cost for the project was going to be around $33 million. And so the remaining portion of that is it's in the following year's capital. And I can tell you that that amount is $28 million.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, it's not going to be that much. I'm sorry. It's actually going to be, we have 6 and this 4, so it's 10. So it'll be about 22 million. I'm sorry.
So Gordon, to clarify,
Thank
that's
you.
22 million after this fiscal year 22. Is that correct?
Yes, 22 million is the big piece of this, because what that will include is the library, the community center, the senior citizens area, everything that we are going to be phasing out at the current Bethesda Park location and putting on the new site. So we're going to be completely shutting down a whole recreation campus that's been there for, Diane, I'm not going to say how long it's been there. You could probably fill in the blanks, you or Judy. But we're basically taking all that offline and building a new complex to serve the south end of the county.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon has a question.
Yeah, this library, is that connected to Williamson County Library? Is it a satellite? Is that it? Or how does that work?
So, Commissioner Sturgeon, the way we're going to design the building is that the library and the costs for the library are included in this dollar amount. So the library will be actually, we'll share a lobby between the library and the recreation complex. So we're not going to have to, we'll be able to share infrastructure, and we're going to save the county a considerable amount of money by upgrading the south end of the county's library services without having a standalone facility.
So it's part of Williamson County Library. It's just
Yes.
not located. Yeah.
Yes,
Is
ma'am,
there-
that's correct.
And
It's replacing the existing Bethesda library that's just down the road. It's and the existing Bethesda library is in an old schoolhouse, and so much needed improvement. And thanks to Gordon and the crew, they've done a lot of value engineering, as he just mentioned, sharing
Right.
infrastructure so they can share the lobby, restrooms, parking lot, et cetera. So a lot of value engineering went into this to benefit that community.
So Paul, are you still on the library board?
I am, and have been on Parks and Rec for a few years, so I've been looking at this from both sides.
So are there any other satellites besides
Yeah.
the Bethesda? There's one in
Yes.
Fairview?
There's one in Fairview, there's one in Leapers Fork, there's one in Nolensville, and then, of course, the main library in Franklin.
What was that
There's
third
also
one
one
you
in College
said?
Grove. There's also one in College Grove.
And College Grove, the smallest library in the system.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, originally my question was, what's the land in Triune for? And also, what made you decide to, you needed a master plan study?
Commissioner Sturgeon, I'll start with the land in Triune. We've been looking at a piece of property out there for a while now. As you well know, that is just an extremely fast growth area in the county. As Bill and Todd were mentioning earlier,
Yes, I'll get that.
as Bill and Todd were mentioning earlier, you'll see in the next couple of years a new fire station going online there. The fire station is going to be located directly next to a piece of property we have, which is called Triune Park. One of the amenities that is at Triune Park is a riding rink for horseback riding, and it is used extensively. That sits on a park that is managed by the Parks and Recreation Department. However, Kenny Wallace and Dallas, his assistant, they are the ones that actually work with the riding club at that particular site. When the fire station and the convenience center, which Nancy Zion and her folks will be putting out there, when that gets put right next to the property that we're operating apart, we will not be able to continue to have horses being programmed and rode in that area because of the danger when the emergency equipment would be called into action. When they would turn their sirens on, it could actually be very, very disruptive to people that are in the proximity of horses and those that would be riding them. So the property that's just down the road a piece is going to be purchased to relocate the amenities that are currently on that site, and also just to serve, once again, the growing south end of the county. And this particular area sits about halfway between College Grove and Nolensville. Do you have any other questions about the Triune property before I answer the second part of your question?
You're muted, Barb.
Gordon, this is Judy. Can you clarify? So where the riding club is, you're putting the fire station? So what you're saying?
No, Commissioner, that's all going to be one big campus going forward. So we're in the process right now with Kevin Benson doing all the due diligence, and Bill and his staff, along with Nancy Zion, purchasing property right next to it. I think that it's about ready to go to contract. So we're purchasing the property that is right next to the current Triune Park. So that's going to be one big piece that's owned by the county. And as a result of that, we're going to have to move the riding rink to a different location.
Okay. Thank you. Come back to
thank you.
Commissioner Thank you, Commissioner Herbert. Commissioner Sturgeon, you were trying to ask a question. You were on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, the question was about it looks like you're doing a master plan study for $200,000.
Yes, Commissioner. So what that is, we have found out that as we have been in the process of trying to apply for grants, there are a couple of things that have been working against us. One, when you apply for grants, there is a lot of grading that takes place to assess the value of the grants. Williamson County naturally is already at a disadvantage because of the perceived socioeconomic advantage that we have here. One of the things that will help us in the future is being able to get the additional grading points by having had a master plan put together to assess parks and recreational needs for the county. At the same time, included with the master plan is another factor that will certainly help us as we try to not only plan ahead for the future of Williamson County's recreational needs, but also to try to be creative when it comes to obtaining revenue sources. We are going to also become accredited as a National Parks and Recreation Department. If we achieve that accreditation, we'll be the only accredited department in the state of Tennessee, which is going to prove to be very significant as we try to progress in the future to generate, revenues from all different phases, from grant writing to new ways to generate revenue through programming and so forth. We haven't had a master plan done in over 15 years. And I think it's in line with what the other departments in the county have recently undertook to make sure that we're staying on the cutting edge to be able to provide these services.
Thank you, Gordon. That was a great explanation.
All right. We're going to go to Commissioner Morton, and then after Commissioner Morton, we'll call on Commissioner Lathers has a question. Commissioner Morton.
Hey, Gordon. Nothing on this year's budget, but looking at those mowers, where do we stand on looking at turf fields for our soccer?
That's a great question, Commissioner Morton. Right now, we are in the process of getting to the point of almost being able to put out to bid phase 1 of the Bethesda Recreation Project. Phase 1 of that includes turf, artificial turf being placed on, we're trying to get it on as many as 6 fields.
Any follow-up, Commissioner Morton?
Are those the only ones we have planned in this year's budget, just out there at Bethesda?
Yeah, that money's already been approved. That was approved in last year's budget, Commissioner. And at the same time, I'm actually also meeting with the different soccer organizations to see if they will assist in the cost of us putting these turf fields down, and also to assist in putting some lighting at an area where we want to put turf down as well, so that we'll be able to play during the winter months and at night. One of the things that we're going to have to do, and this is something that will come up in this master plan, is as we prepare for the growth that this county is going to continue to see, we're going to have to slowly but surely start to convert some of our facilities from natural grass to turf. And so this is just a step in that direction.
And then if I can ask, thank you very much for that. If I can ask one follow-up, just because I didn't look at where your rankings were on. We talked a little bit about putting bubbles over some of our outdoor pools at one point. And are those looking towards 2 or 3 years out? And I apologize for not having your full capital plan to have looked at that.
Yeah, one of the things that we'll try to do, Commissioner Morton, is continue to look into that. One of the things that we hope we will get some backup support is from the master plan. We currently, are beyond capacity for the demand placed on our aquatic services. We're going to get some relief when the phase 3 comes online at Bethesda. We're planning on an 8-lane indoor pool at that location, which will help on the south end of the county, south of 840. But as you well know, that still is just not really scratching the surface for the demand that we have. And we also, this year was the first year that we've really been able to try to throw a bone, for lack of a better expression, to the middle schools, and we've allowed them to at least host a meet or two for that younger age group. So yes, sir, we're doing everything that we can, but I do feel like that part of the results of the master plan will demonstrate the need to try to be creative and create some year-round swimmable space.
Thank you for everything y'all do for us.
Thank you, Commissioner Morton. Commissioner Lathers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gordon, I had a follow-up question when you were talking about the Triune Park property. I may be misunderstanding this, but just being a district representative for that area, we've had lots of conversations about a very preliminary conceptual plan for a possible trailhead for a greenway. And I'm just wondering, with these new plans with that property, would that limit that option? Because as I met with you and Kevin and we're gearing up to meet with TDOT just to keep these balls rolling as to if that's even a possibility. So do I hear you saying that when you relocate the horse folks, that would also eliminate an opportunity for that to be a trailhead?
I don't know that it would eliminate that entirely. I know that having an equestrian facility as the at the trailhead would not exist at that point. I think if you speak with Mike Madison from planning, you'll see that there is a very comprehensive town design, concept for Triune, and there's quite a bit of planning, future planning for a city center type area and homes to be located directly behind the current Triune Park. And so with all the different property owners that are back there, I'm not sure, where all of that is at this point, but I'm not saying that it would not be a staging area. I think that the thing that you would always have to consider, though, is that where you mix horses and emergency equipment with loud noises and flashing lights, you're looking at a potential safety issue.
Yes,
Jim.
I agree, Gordon. And just to clarify, both Tommy Little and I served on the Triune Special Area Plan, and I've served the comp plan. I'm on the planning commission. So I'm very involved with the planning department, and Mike Madison is very aware of this Greenway Trail concept plan where citizens have been gathering and working for 2 years. So I would just respectfully request that I be read into these type of decisions, because I'm really wasting all of our time if it's not even a possibility. We met with the Commissioner of Agriculture, we met with Arrington Vineyards, the CVB. We knew that the thing that can hold us up is TDOT. So I won't take our time here at budget, but we're literally getting close to a TDOT meeting. So maybe we could discuss at another time so we're not miscommunicating or misrepresenting what really the other goals are that we weren't aware of. So I appreciate that. Well, I'll
Apologies. Yeah, my apologies, Commissioner Lathers. I will say this, that Commissioner Little was involved in the discussions that we've had about the site there in Triune, and I apologize for you not being involved in that as well. But I
not
do
at all.
apologize.
Tommy, Chairman Little and I discussed it, and he didn't see that was a mutually exclusive. And I have emails to that effect too. So this is just news to me in a budget committee. So I'll follow up with you after that, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Lathers. Does anyone else have any questions on the Parks and Rec $8,262,000 request? Seeing none. Let me note that you heard some numbers about the future from our Parks Director and from our Emergency Director regarding the construction at Burwood in future years. That's today's. And if you've been paying attention, construction prices are going up. So those numbers are benchmarks for today, not next year when we actually do it. And that's pretty typical in our areas. Construction costs are going up faster than inflation. So just want to make sure that our public safety folks and our parks folks didn't get caught by giving us numbers. We do expect them to go up. All right. That's the end of the general fund for $24,749,011. As I stated when we started this one, does anybody have any questions going back that's included in this 24 plus million? We'll answer them before we vote. Any questions on anything we've covered so far today? Commissioner Herbert.
Are we going to vote on the general fund capital projects now?
Yes. That's my understanding. We're going to vote on that and then go on to solid waste as a separate vote.
Okay, I guess I'd like a little more from Nina as far as the financial condition before we approve this much money.
Okay.
And she'll give us a little more insight, and I assume they've gone through here and narrowed it down anyway.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Yep.
We started well, we had pared down from when we were originally entering these, had a request over 30 million. So we have pulled it down to the 24. As we get closer to year end, I will go through and identify some of these items we'll be able to pay for out of fund balance. As we discussed, some will be out of privilege tax. We also review departments' prior year capital requests to see if there are any excess funds that may be applied to this. So we have gone through and vetted this. The remainder of that balance would be borrowed either through a bond or a note. And that's where I would bring that to you in a resolution in July, splitting those funding options out.
Thank you, Nina.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Because I think Commissioner Herbert brought up a good point. We want to make sure that we are voting on this amount today to recommend to the full commission. And it has been vetted by the finance department, and I'm assuming the mayor's had an input in this as well. So any other questions before we vote? Commissioner Sturgeon.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, how do we know where we are financially if we don't have the information from Brad Coleman yet? How do we know how, I mean, before we approve this, shouldn't we know how much we have to spend? You know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. I'm trying to think of an answer. So Nina, would you help Commissioner Sturgeon? I mean, this is typical of what we do.
This is
But
our
go ahead.
typical request year over year. The last few years, it has been 30 million plus. So we were able to pare that down. So yes, we are awaiting numbers from Brad, and that will help us as we move forward later in the budget process. After we get his numbers, we'll be able to bring to you the final, help me here, the final certified rate, and then we can go from there.
So is this vote just a recommendation from the budget committee, and we're still able to take items off the capital budget for next year?
You would be able to, this will come before the full commission in a resolution in July. And then if there are any questions or concerns at that point, we can address those questions.
That's in the meeting in July?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So we'll have another chance, and we will have, if something were to come up serious, Commissioner Sturgeon, we do have our May and June budget committee meetings that we could discuss any issues and answer any further questions you or any other budget committee members have. So we've got some time to work on this. All right. Any other questions? If not, then we're ready to vote. We'll load the vote for approving the capital fund budget request of $24,749,011. If you're in favor, push your yes button. If you're opposed, your no button. Record the vote, please. And that passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right. Next one up is the solid waste department. And it looks like the total solid waste is $1,220,000. Do I have a motion for approval? Commissioner Herbert, and second by Commissioner Morton. Nancy is on this one. So Nina, I think we'll let Nancy go through the highlights of this area. So Ms. Don, would you just kind of give us the highlights here and be available to answer questions, please?
Hello, Commissioners. This is actually pretty easy. These are all replacements or rebuilds. Nothing new. Other than that, I would like to just entertain your questions.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions regarding the solid waste sanitation request?
I will remind you, we do have our own fund, just as a reminder, and with volume is what drives our needs for the department. And with volume also comes revenue.
Yes.
I will add, Mr. Chairman, I would anticipate that the full 1,220,000 be funded out of fund balance for this fund.
Okay.
So there will be
Good to
no
know.
borrowed monies here.
Okay. That answers. Mr. Sturgeon.
Yeah, I just want, I mean, I've noticed on Sneed Road, it seems like it's getting busier and busier. I'm just wondering, Nancy, if you could give me like a county-wide shot of what solid waste looks like, where it's growing or it's not. Are we still taking, I mean, are we still able to make money on bringing in certain recyclables and?
We do receive revenue on the recycling that we take in. There's also the avoided cost aspect of recycling, which is really the primary financial aspect of that. Growth across the county, absolutely. And Grassland and Nolensville are our two busiest centers by far. You may remember we did purchase that property adjacent to it. And that is in the plan down the road. Bill and I have actually discussed it, but we aren't quite sure when that's going to happen, but I think it's probably going to be moved up pretty soon. We've got, Gordon mentioned that an additional convenience center, if that property and all goes through, is going to be in the Triune area, and that's going to be a very large center. The design I've drawn has it bigger than Nolensville or Grassland. So yes, to answer your question, the growth is amazing. The growth at the landfill as well. I can give you just some really round numbers that I looked up the other day. A year ago in March, our construction and demolition took in 5,000 tons. Now, please understand that's not just convenience centers. That's everything that comes through our gates. So took in 5,000 tons a year ago in March. Last month, we took in 7,000 tons. So that's a pretty astounding number. And we're just, we need this equipment to handle all of that. And similarly, I'm going to be requesting a heavy equipment operator too when we get to that point. And that this is all the same reason. It's just the volume that's coming through the gate.
Can you estimate how much of this is due to construction development and how much of it is just residential waste?
Well, the number that I just gave you was actually only construction and demolition. And I'm sorry, I don't have the residential. Are you talking about the construction demolition waste that comes from residents or?
No, I'm thinking a builder comes in and he, produces trash and then he takes it to the dump. And does he have to pay for that or?
Well, if he comes to the landfill, yes, he has to pay for it.
Oh, okay. All right.
And commercial contractors are not permitted in our convenience centers. That's strictly for our residences, and that's funded through their property taxes.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you. That answers my question.
Sure.
Thanks.
Any other question on the solid waste sanitation total of 1,220,000? Seeing none, are we ready to vote?
This is Commissioner Williams. Can I ask one quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm not on the committee, but I know a couple years ago I'd asked, and I think the projections, you felt good the landfill was going to be good for another 30 years. If you look at current rates and everything, how good's our landfill good for before we have to start addressing an issue there?
The latest numbers based on last month, and bear in mind that was a 1 month, one little snapshot thing, but the trends are just growing. The construction and demolition landfill at this point looks like it is going to last 10 to 12 years from now. We do have some options for some vertical expansions on some other of the landfill. So we still do have some wiggle room there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I didn't see your Commissioner Williams, but if any other member of the commission has a question, you can do so. Not seeing anyone else. Let me just note at that point, because Commissioner Lathers and Williams asked a question, you can put that in the chat box if you're on. Just list your question in the chat box, and then I have my chat box open and I can recognize you. That's the easiest way to get my attention if you're not a member of the budget committee. All right, now then, back to the solid waste sanitation. Are we ready to vote on the 1,220,000 capital request? If you're ready, push your yes button if you're in favor, your no button if you oppose. And record the vote, please, Amy. And that passes 5-0.
Thank you very
Nancy.
much.
I understand you're sticking with us for personnel. All right, next up is the highway, and you'll see the highway total is $1,360,000. Do I have a motion for approval? Commissioner Herbert, second by Commissioner Morton. We do have Eddie and well, we did have Eddie. They were on the phone. They said they can answer questions. So does anyone have any questions on this item?
Mr. Chair, I would
ma'am.
anticipate that this be covered out of their fund balance as well.
Thank you, Nina. So all this total amount out of their highway department fund balance?
Yes,
Total.
sir.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions? Greg and Eddie are on the phone if you do. Okay, ready to vote? If you're in favor of highway department capital budget request of $1,360,000, push your yes button. If you're opposed, your no button. Record them. And that passes 5-0. Nina, do we need to vote on the full 27 million at this point, do you think? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I think we're good unless our attorneys tell me otherwise.
All right, then we're good. All right. At that point, that takes care of the capital request. We'll go on to the personnel line items. Just a second, let me get my papers out. And Nina, is this going to be you or Mr. Weber? How are we going to approach these requests? Since I want to make sure on this one that all members of the committee, there were 3 sheets, correct? We have the new personnel request, we have the mayor's recommendations, and we have the recommendations from the Human Resources Committee. Is that correct, Nina?
Yes, sir, I believe so. Mr.
Okay.
Weber is online. He's worked with all the departments on these requests.
Okay. Help me here, Nina and Mayor, do we want to go down line item by line item on these once we put it on the floor? And do we have to approve these by department or approve them in total? I'm not sure how to get this on the floor. That's what I'm asking. Somebody help me out here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Diane. In prior years, I believe what you all have done is look at the list of new personnel requests that were submitted by each department. And so typically what the HR director does then is he takes all of those to the HR committee. Prior to doing that, then the mayor goes through and reviews those, and he works with those departments under his direct reports and makes his recommendations. And then based on the numbers, Mr. Weber would go back and work with some of the department heads and or elected officials and see what their particular position request would be. If you were asking for 2 and you could only be granted 1, what would your request, which one of your positions requested would be your ideal recommendation? And so what you have is all of the new personnel positions that came in, the mayor's recommended positions, and then the third attachment is what the HR committee voted to recommend at their meeting. We do not have each individual department loaded into the machine. You would need to do that by a voice vote if that's your preference. But typically looking at the list, the original list of new personnel requests, if there is anyone on there who did not quote, make the cut on either of the other 2 lists, now would be their time to speak up and request, make any additional requests that were not included on either the mayor's list or the HR committee's list.
Okay, that's helpful. I think that, okay, Barb, on that same, but Commissioner Sturgeon has only 2 lists. If you look on that attachment from Amy, there's at the bottom on the Excel spreadsheet, there's sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. And so all 3 sheets are a different worksheet. So if you pull up that Excel spreadsheet, you'll see those 3 sheets. I think.
I only see the top sheet for some reason. The rest of it seems to be blank.
Okay, if you,
Yeah, you can't scroll down. It's a tab at the bottom of the Excel notebook.
Oh, okay. I'm not a big Excel
And
expert.
they are labeled, the requests, the mayor's recommendations, and then the HR committee recommendations. So it
you got some
won't be a
cavalry behind you,
scroll.
Commissioner Sturgeon. So you see them now?
I see sheet 1, 2, and 3.
Click on the sheet 1 and then sheet 2 and sheet 3. They should come up.
Yeah, but it looks like sheet 1 and sheet 3 are virtually the same. No, maybe not.
There's very little difference.
Very little difference. Well, one's for 24 people and one's for 28, right?
Right, and there's another one, the mayor's recommendation for 23.
Gotcha.
Okay, ready?
Thank you.
All right, I think, and committee members jump in if you think, I think we just have a discussion on this before we put anything on the floor with a motion, because we don't know what we're going to do. And I'd like to have Mr. Weber just kind of give us a quick summary of these positions, and then let the committee ask questions. And then note that we have the mayor's list, and then those of you on the Human Resources Committee or that watch it know that the foster care specialist was added and recommended by the Human Resources Committee. And that's what's on the other sheet. I'm not sure which number these are at this point. Does anyone have any objection to that method of reviewing the personnel requests? No, if not, Mr. Weber, you kind of go through our first one where there's 28. Look at that first, and then we'll discuss the other 2 sheets, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The first sheet, sheet 1, of course, is all of the positions that were requested this year by individuals. And as pointed out, there were 28 positions. Some had multiple, some departments had multiple positions, others might have just 1 position. As you look down the column A, you'll see public safety, and then you'll see juvenile services, and below those, what was asked, or what the mayor had asked, was that they choose 2 of those positions. But we left all 28 there because it goes to a committee, it goes to you on that. But I just wanted to reflect that. The other thing I wanted to call your attention to is, and we don't spend a lot of time on it, but our part-time hours. You'll notice that what we're requesting now, or what we're asking departments to request, are part-time hours as opposed to part-time positions. In the past, you might have someone say they'd like 3 part-time people, etc. Well, the problem is some of our part-time people work 10 hours a week, some work 20 hours a week, or even more. And so that was a very inaccurate way of trying to keep up with expenses when you're say I'll approve 3 convenience center attendants, but I'm not sure how many hours each will work. And so this year we converted and asked them to convert that into hours, and then your salaries and your total are based on the actual cost they're projecting for each of those hours worked. And so that was what was submitted at the very beginning. We had no additional positions asked for after this was done. In years past, as said, we do take these to the Human Resources Committee, Budget Committee has asked that the Human Resources Committee review those and make a recommendation. Years ago, one of the committees asked if the mayor would make recommendations also, since many of the departments are under him. And just since he seemed to know the lay of the land a little bit also. And so we started doing that years ago. And essentially the mayor would review, make suggestions. As Diane said, I would contact the department. Some I could say the mayor's not going to recommend, or some others I'd say, well, the mayor would like for you to choose 2 of those positions, or the mayor is fine with what you presented. And then that is the mayor's recommendation, and that's the extent of it. What's presented to the HR committee, again, is what's on sheet 1, all the positions that were asked for, the mayor's recommendation, and then they make their own recommendation by reviewing, and we have all the department heads at that meeting, at the Human Resources Committee, so they can discuss the need for those positions at the Human Resource Committee. And so that's how it goes. That's the format. The department heads did appear at the Human Resources Committee. Every one of them did explain their request, and it was listened to by the committee, and then they came out with their recommendation. So that's, just an overall summary of what we're doing. The department heads should be here if anyone has a question about any position, that they can respond to those questions if you wish.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weber. Before I go to Commissioner Sturgeon, can you help me on the new commissioner request? If the budget committee members will look with me, I think we can take the 28 and show the positions not included in the 23. So Mr. Weber, if you will help me, under public safety, we've taken out the EMA Officer 1 and the training specialist. Is that correct? There's 2 there, and then at the bottom under juvenile services, we took out the foster care specialist, the juvenile detention officer, and the central intake officer. And that's 5, which takes the 28 down to 23. Am I correct on that? So I can kind of see which positions were removed. I know which position was added to the mayor's list. I want to make sure I have the positions that were removed to make the mayor's list of 23. Are you still there? Did I lose Mike Weber?
Am I missing? You didn't hear me, did you?
No, I didn't hear you.
I had a great explanation. Let me try that again real
Okay,
quick.
try that again.
Summarize it.
Okay.
Yeah, in the list there, you'll see public safety and juvenile services. The mayor had asked that each of them choose 2 of the positions, and they could choose any of the positions they wanted out of the number they were requesting. So public safety did choose the NCIC terminal agency coordinator and the EMA officer 1. Juvenile services 2 choices was the assessment specialist and the truancy specialist. And then everybody else's remained the same that they had originally requested.
Thank you. Heard you that time. All right, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Thank you, Chairman. I was in that Human Resource Committee, actually, that I happened to chair that one. And we pretty much started from what the mayor's recommendations were, but we listened to all the department heads. And if Judge Guffey is on this call, it would be great for her to explain to us here in the Budget Committee what she explained to the Human Resources Committee. That's possible.
That is possible. Matter of fact, if any commissioner on the committee would like to ask about any of these positions, just as you have, Commissioner Sturgeon, we can ask them, because I think we have many of the department heads on the call. So Judge Guffey or someone from juvenile, would you care to discuss the foster specialist that you requested to be added?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we had requested this additional position for our children in foster care. We, as I explained to HR, this is a large portion of what we do, the child welfare work in juvenile court. And this position would be an oversight position over these children that are in the custody of the Department of Children's Services. Currently, we have 3 foster care review boards in our county. These are groups of citizens that review every single child that's in foster care. Commissioner Herbert has been on our foster care review board for many years, as well as Commissioner Mason. So they're familiar with the work that we do. This particular position would be responsible for making sure that these children's court hearings are timely. The Department of Children's Services is required to have timely hearings certain times during the year to receive their federal funding for the children. We generally keep over 100 children in foster care in this county, and that computes out to about 500 hearings a year that, that this person would be responsible for making sure that that those hearings are timely and that any of the needs of the children that they have in foster care are reviewed and met if there's any additional court hearings that are needed. So it's a pretty important position that we've not had up until this point, but it's absolutely needed, and we appreciated very much the HR committee's response and approval of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Urson, any follow-up?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Judge. The other thing it seemed kind of to stand out to the HR committee was that there were more personnel added for the animal and Parks and Recs, and we just felt like the children of Williamson County deserved a little bit more. So that's all I'd like to add.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on the committee have questions about any of these requests while we have the department heads online? If you want to ask a question of why they've asked for the new staff, here's your opportunity. Commissioner Herbert.
Okay, dealing on the foster care board, I will say that's an important position. There are a lot of things we discovered during the foster board hearings that needs to be brought attention to the judge. I feel like this would help take care of these kids better. These kids some of them have had a very difficult life and it's really hard on them. So I do think that's a good idea. I guess my next question is for animal control. Andre, are you on the call?
Let's see, is there anyone from animal control? Andrea or anyone else from animal control? We may have to have Mr. Weber answer your question. Go ahead and ask the question, Commissioner Herbert.
I guess because there's so many different positions, I keep seeing receptionist. Don't we already have a receptionist there? I mean, are they adding? Is there a reason we need more than one receptionist? I'd assume they already got one, but then I see there's 2 on here. Can somebody answer that?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
yes,
what the animal control director is doing is preparing for the new building, the new location, which is going to be quite a bit larger and more divided into different areas. So these are the positions that she's been advised by one of the planning groups that views those things to open the new facility. Now, I can't go into detail much more than that, but I need to know it is the result of the new facility. If she wasn't getting the new facility, then most of these positions would not be there at the time. And it's something that we've done whenever there's been an open of a new facility, whether it be parks or public safety or any others. You'll have a tendency to have staff brought on that year that can provide all the services that they're intending to provide now that they have the new room. But other than that, I can't I can't say much to address those individual positions.
And I guess my next question is the education specialists. What are they what are they educating on? Taking care of your animals or what? I mean, could that not be a part-time position?
I know what they're educating on. I know that what their part of their plan is through the education and working in the schools, et cetera, has been shown through various studies to help decrease strays, help decrease other animals, and teaches about responsible pet ownership, et cetera, and that has an impact on the number of animals out there. Now, again, whether that's a part or full-time, that would be something that Andrea would have to address, and I can't really go into the discussion on that one way or the other.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Johnson will be joining us again shortly. She should be back on the call by now.
All right, Commissioner Herbert, you'll see Diane is, okay.
Yeah,
Just a second. Okay, just a second. If you look at your chat box, you'll see Diane shared this. There's a set of standards by shelter planners that give some of this guidance. And so I'm not sure did Andrea make it on the call?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I hung up for a minute.
Okay. So Commissioner Herbert, do you want to ask that question about the community education specialist again, please?
Yeah, I mean, I had two questions, Andrea, and one was we had several positions for receptionists when I know we're bound to have one already over there. And why do we got two more receptionists? The community education specialist. I guess I just have some concerns with this many positions for animal control, even though it is a new building. I'd like to hear what the other commissioners think also after Andrea's explanation.
So I only requested one main receptionist / admin. We don't have anybody currently who answers the phones for us. And that's probably the number one complaint that I get is that people call and the phones, we don't have a central person who answers. So they call, and if the front desk is with someone, they roll to another department. And then, if that department either can't answer their question or, they sometimes will roll to animal control, for example. So if they're calling to ask about, what are some dogs that are in adoption, animal control might not necessarily know the answer to that. So my number one complaint I ever get from the public is that they have a hard time getting people on the phone. And the other position that is, it's really the clinic person that would schedule all the spay neuter appointments, would keep all of the drug logs, would keep all of the medical records, transcribe all the records that happen when there are surgeries. Even if we weren't doing a public facing clinic, we do tons of surgeries here every week. And various people right now are putting those medical notes into the computer, but it's a very disjointed process. So those two positions, I can answer more questions about them if you want, but that's the bottom line of why we need those positions. In terms of the community education person, Shelter Planners of America, as Diane said, did a needs assessment on our program and our county and the growth of our county. And I can point you to or provide all of you with copies of that needs assessment program if you'd like to read it. But they did an assessment based on the growth of the county over the last 10 years, the projected growth of the county over the next 20. And basically, we can offset the number of animals that we need to house and rehome and do surgeries for and all of those things by implementing. They recommended 3 programs that need to be implemented to have a really adequate programming to support the shelter. One was a spay-neuter program, which you guys have already approved the cost and the ability to do that when we move into the new building. One was what's known as a redemption program. So a more proactive approach to returning animals to their homes when they are found as strays. So right now we have a very reactive approach where we post them on our Facebook page, but if someone doesn't come looking for their animal here, we end up putting it up for adoption and looking for a home for it. And then the third one was a community educator, which would be someone who would develop programs for example, elementary school children, and talk about, you know, responsible pet ownership in elementary, in middle school, in high school. Also have community programs to help people understand what programs they can take advantage of. How to trap cats, for example, is one that we would really like to offer, but right now we don't have anywhere to host people, and, you know, with COVID and everything. But you know, we'll have this education center that's built to hold 100 people. And if we don't have someone to create programming and run programming there, we won't really be taking full advantage of this amazing facility that you guys have gifted us with. So that's the back end of all of the positions.
Okay, you answered it. Next question, what the redemption coordinator was. So that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And Commissioner Herbert, I will just say that it'll be really no different probably in the new building than what it is here. I mean, most of us here wear multiple hats, and that redemption specialist, I would like to combine that position and sort of make it an overall safety net position. So not only helping return pets to their owners when they come in as strays, but I would like for that person to spend a portion of their time being a resource for the community when they're looking. We have a lot of people who would choose not to surrender their animal if they could have some basic training, or if they had, you know, assistance with a medical bill or things like that. And there are resources out there for people. We just right now do not have the capacity to partner with the community that way. And my goal for the center, and I've said this to all of you, have probably heard me say it at some point, is really to be a partner with our citizens in basically any stage of pet ownership that they are at, not just when they lose a pet, when they get a citation, or when they're looking for a pet. I'd like to be a resource to help them keep their pets when they're kind of at a crossroads.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. So members of the committee, we're looking at all three of these. If there are any more questions while we have the departments with us, if not, I would suggest that we could do a motion. And here's my thought process, and you chime in. We could either put the mayor's recommendation, have a motion in a second, or the total request, or the human resources. We get one of those on the floor, and if we want to, we can amend that. So Mark, what are you motioning for, Commissioner Sturgeon?
I would like to make a motion that we vote on the list that came out of the Human Resource Committee.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second? Commissioner Morton, thank you very much. All right, now then we have the Human Resources approved personnel request of 24 full-time, and then a total of 14,768 hours of part-time. Further discussion on this recommendation. Again, if there's another commissioner not on the budget, please enter into the chat box so I can recognize you. All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, we're voting on the 21-22 Human Resources Committee recommendation, which is for 24 new full-time positions for a total of $1,003,750 of compensation, plus with benefits, $1,618,313.39. And then part-time of 14,768 total part-time hours, with salaries of $261,144 plus any benefits of $281,124. If you're ready to vote on this, press your yes button. If you're opposed, your no button. As soon as we get it loaded.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
pardon me for the interruption. Need to reset the screen. This what is on the screen is the new position request for all departments. So bear with us just a moment while we change it to the, well, it should say HR committee, not the department. So that was Commissioner Sturgeon's motion and Commissioner Morton's second.
That's
And
correct.
It says HR department, but we understand internally that that is the HR committee's recommendations.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone okay? Understand what we're voting on? All right. Let us know when you're ready, when you get it loaded, please.
It's ready
There
to
we go.
vote now. Thank you.
All right. Ready to vote on the HR committee recommendations. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Record the vote, please. And that's 4 yes, 1 no. So that passes. Now then, if I'm looking, that I believe is all we have for this afternoon. So do we have any other items from the budget committee? Seeing none. Any comments from the mayor today? Oh, having none. All right.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to pull this up on my phone. I got to get out of this program. I was
Okay.
going to give you the total number of shots, vaccines that we have done yesterday. It was 1,800 shots yesterday, and Kathy Montgomery indicated to me since December we've done a little over 66,000. Again, hold on. Let me see if I can get the exact number up for you.
I've got some here while you're looking for that. And if Director Horton is on while we're talking about this, Montgomery at the meeting yesterday said 1,878 vaccines were given last Friday at the Ag Center. That's an amazing. And they gave over 8,500 vaccines last week at the Ag Center. And if Director Horton is on, he had a percentage of the county that had their first vaccine and is complete. Is he still on? I think the number was of Williamson County. The number I've written down is 25% of the population has completed first and second. So I just happen to have that in front of me. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Well, I can't because I can't pull it up. I'm still locked into the open meetings app. I can't get out of it. So I will report that later. But it was a very large number. We're leading in the state. We've got we're having a high percentage of people getting the vaccine, and that's as all of you know, that's a solid thing in which to do. That we've been able to hold on just a moment. Let's see if we can get out of this.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, I am on the call and I can cite those numbers for you.
That'd be great. Thanks, Todd.
So Kathy Montgomery reported that yesterday they did 1,866 vaccinations, and the total since December is 66,906. And Commissioner Webb, the information regarding vaccinations, not just done by the local health department, but all vaccinations, no matter where they were administered, as long as they were administered to Williamson County residents, 41.72% of the population has received at least one dose of any manufactured vaccine. 15.14% has received only one dose of either the Pfizer or the Moderna, and 26.56% of the population has either received both doses of the Pfizer, Moderna, or the single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So again, 41.72% of the population has received at least one dose of the vaccine. And it's important to note that that's the total population, and obviously only 16 and older are eligible currently for the vaccine. So the percentage of people who are eligible is much higher than 41%. I hope that answers your question.
That's very good because we know we have somewhere around 40,000 students in the schools, and most of them are under 16. So that's good information to have, Director. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Mayor. Is there anything else from you today?
No, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a question. We have our next meeting, April 27th at 3:30. And then right after that, we have the, this is the 3:30, the school system. And so if I'm reading the executive orders right, that will also be a Zoom meeting, or will we be ready to go back live?
To answer your question, Mr. Chairman, the executive order is good through the 28th to the 27th. We can still do electronic meetings.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to make sure all the members were clear on that. So that the 27th meeting at 3:30 will be on Zoom. And then, Mr. Mayor, unless the governor reissues a new executive order, our May 3rd meeting will be at the administrative complex. Is that correct?
That is correct. Anything after the 28th, we're planning to have real live meetings. There will be some there will be some virtual meetings through some platform but anything that involves the county commissioners with a vote, discussion of that, we're going to have to go back to real meetings.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have any other business? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the budget committee meeting.
Herbert, motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I will second that. We are adjourned, and we will see you April 27th. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you very much.